You guys, nothing looks better for a birthday cake than a chocolate layered cake. So I'm going to show it to you in a lot of different variations. We're going to start off with a really simple naked cake that's perfect for a beginner. And you guys, I really did want to have simple options. Then I show you how to do a rough frost with a quick, simple chocolate drip, and then do some rosettes on top of that. And then I show you guys a few ways to finish it off. This video is totally simple, totally tasty. You guys, these are not grocery store cakes. They taste delicious, and I'll even show you a fun sprinkle topper to finish it off. So let's get into it. You guys, it's all about prep, and this prep part is easy to skip, or you might say I don't have all the right things. This is like the most important. So I've taken a piece of parchment paper and I've folded it so I have 4 pieces thick. I trace my pan onto it, and I'm using a 6-inch cake pan, and then I cut the circles out, and I just cut inside since I used a Sharpie. I don't want the Sharpie in my cake pan. And I cut those out, and once I've done that, I have 4 circles. You guys, the key to this is folding it over. You only have to cut one. Now to actually prep the pan. I take a 6-inch pan, spray a little bit of Pam in it. I then take my parchment circle, curl side down, so it's not curling up, it's curling down, and that Pam that's in the pan just helps it stick. I put more Pam over the top. So Pam, parchment, Pam. And then for my chocolate cake, you guys, I'm using a chocolate cake mix, but I'm just zhuzhing it up a little bit, putting some sour cream in, putting some cocoa powder, and just mixing that until it's completely combined. Again, all the recipes will be down in the description box below. And then I come to my 3 6-inch prepared pans, and I split the batter evenly. I just eyeball it, and you can kind of mess with it if they're not coming out evenly. If you want them to be really exact, you could use a scale too. But I just pop these into the oven, and I'm baking them at 350 degrees until they're done. And the best way to tell if they're done is if when you lightly tap with your finger that they spring back. In the meantime, I am going to make my ganache. I'm making a dark chocolate ganache, but you could make a milk chocolate, whatever your preference is. And I've heated the heavy cream in the microwave for about 1.5 minutes, or until it's nice and steamy. You don't want it boiling. I then add my chocolate and swirl to cover with the cream. I allow it to set for 1 minute or 2 to give the chocolate a chance to melt. And then I come in with my whisk, and I'm just going to whisk it until it's smooth. At first, it might seem like it's not going to come together, but keep whisking. It will come together. And again, it will splash if you go too crazy at the beginning. So just take it slow. As you're mixing, if you notice lumps, keep stirring. If they are still there once it's all combined, then pop it in the microwave for about 30 seconds and then stir it, and it should smooth out. And I'm going to set this off to the side and allow it to cool to room temperature. If you're in a hurry, you can pop it in the fridge. Just be careful that it doesn't get too hard. You might need to stir it every 5 or 10 minutes. Now it's time for the frosting. I'm starting off with cream cheese, cocoa powder, powdered sugar, and a little bit of heavy whipping cream and vanilla. Now you guys, this frosting is great for so many reasons. First of all, it tastes great. It is my whipped frosting, chocolate whipped frosting, and it has a wonderful flavor, but it's also really easy for a beginner to work with. Okay, so once that all comes together and is nice and smooth, I then add the rest of the heavy whipping cream, and this is just going to make it super light, fluffy, airy, and yummy. And like I was saying, you guys, it's great for a beginner because it's obviously delicious, but it's also really easy to spread and pipe. It's not going to be pulling crumbs off like a traditional buttercream might, and it's also not going to tire your hands out after you've piped it for a long time. This is like one of my favorite frostings ever. So just bring that mixer speed up slowly and just whisk it until it is nice and stiff. Should have stiff peaks, and you can tell that a few ways by pulling out the attachment and seeing if the peaks still stand, or I just like to tip the bowl, stop the mixer obviously, tip the bowl and see that it is not moving. It is staying to the edge of the bowl. And now it is time to work with it. Now you guys, my favorite way to use it is to put it into a piping bag. I think you can do so much from there, and that's just what's easiest to me. I'm just using a star tip here. You could use any tip that you want, but I think a star tip is a pretty safe bet. Wilton 1M is really good, and I will I use an Ateco one, and I can't think of the number right now, but I will put it down in the description box below. I fold my bag over and I just fill it with frosting. Nothing too crazy here. These are some really great additions to your baking kit. If you don't have a piping tip in a bag, totally add them. You will use them all the time. Okay, you guys, I didn't mention this, but once I baked my cakes, I actually wrapped them and threw them in the freezer. This is not required, but it will make them so much easier to work with, and I just work with them frozen. By the time I'm finished, they're nearly defrosted. So I'm putting down a cake layer, and you guys, this is our first iteration of the chocolate birthday cake, just the naked one, and it comes together super quick. I pipe a dam of that chocolate whipped frosting And yeah, nothing too crazy here. I then come in with my ganache, and you guys can see it's quite a bit thickened from the last time we saw it, and that's because it's cooled off. So I'm just going to drop some in there, and then I'm going to come in and smooth it off. Again, nothing has to be too perfect, but that buttercream just kind of acts as a dam to hold in the ganache. I'm then going to come in with my next layer of cake, and you guys have seen 3 layers of cake this entire video, but I ended up just making these 2 layers high because I felt like they were getting too tall with 3 layers, but you could totally add 3 layers if that's your jam. I then am just piping chocolate buttercream on top. I'm gonna smooth it out, but my piping bag's just a really easy way to get it on there evenly. And I just came in with an offset spatula, but you could use a butter knife, whatever. And I just smooth that out till it looks good. Again, these cakes are not supposed to be, or I'm not aiming for something that's super crazy perfection. I just want something delicious and cute, and that's really all I need. So once it's smoothed out to the way you like it, you're ready to finish it off. And you guys, that's why I love this cake variation. It's so quick, so easy, so beginner friendly. And now I'm just taking my piping bag and piping little stars along the outside, and you just want to use even pressure and even amount so you get stars that are the same size. And that just takes practice, so if they're not turning out the way you want, you can scrape them off and try it again. Once you've made it all the way around the cake, you can finish it off however you'd like. And on this particular cake, I decided to use some of these chocolate curls. I get these from Hobby Lobby or Sam's Club, wherever it works for you and wherever you can find them. But sprinkles or anything would work here, or you could leave it blank. I then add a topper to this first variation. I think a topper really elevates a cake. So if you're like, this cake is a little bit rough looking, put a topper on it. Game changer, looks so much better. All right, that's the first variation, you guys. It's super cute and crazy easy. All right, so now I'm gonna pull out the topper, scrape off the chocolate curls, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna step it up a notch. I would still say this is very beginner friendly, but a little bit notched up. So what we're gonna do is smooth the frosting out. We're gonna frost the entire cake. And you guys, this can be one of the most challenging things for a beginner, and even for people that have done cakes for a while. It is just difficult sometimes to get things smoothed out. So I like this option for a beginner because we're going to kind of cover up all those imperfections. And you guys, really, I did a pretty sloppy job frosting this, and I still think it looks great. So I've chilled my cake in the freezer for about 15 minutes, and I've taken my ganache and I've warmed it in the microwave for about 15 seconds, stirred it. This is the same ganache that I filled the cake with. I just have it a little more liquidy, and to do this, your cake has to be chilled. I then am just dripping it off the side, and if you're dripping it off and it's not running like you want it to, you could add more cream to your ganache or heat it for 10 more seconds. It should be rolling down the cake at a decent speed, and yeah, you just have to play with it. If you're not sure if it's right, you could always try to drip some down the side of a water glass and see if it's what you want before you go to your cake. And you guys, I'm just going to work my way all the way around the cake doing my drips. You guys, a drip is a great way to solve a sloppy frosting job because it covers it up and makes it look beautiful. And that's why I put this in the beginner video, because I think a lot of people are intimidated by it, but it's exactly what you need when you are a beginner to cover up a rough frosting. Now to finish this up, we're going to come in with our ganache and we're going to work around the top of the cake. And you guys, this part doesn't have to be perfect. You do want to be kind of conservative, because if you get too crazy with this top part, it can start totally flowing off the sides, which isn't the end of the world, but you know, enough to cover it, but not too much that it starts flooding off the sides. So that looks pretty good to me. So I come in with my offset spatula and I just smooth out the top. And mine did run off just a little bit more, but I still thought it looked okay. And you guys, now it is time to pop it in the fridge or the freezer. You must do this before you move on. I then am taking my same whipped frosting. You guys can see how these basics can go so many different ways. And I'm piping bigger swirls this time. I just wanted to show you guys the variety of things you can do with these cakes. And these are just the beginning. You can totally take these in different directions. And I just continue working around the cake until I'm finished. You guys, just generally trying to make them the same size, same height, all that kind of stuff. Remember, these don't have to be perfect. They are a birthday cake for somebody you love, and you're making it yourself. And that's the important part. Just get better with each cake that you're making. And then to finish these off, I added candles, and you might say, is that really finishing it off? But I do think it gives it a completed look when you have a fancier birthday candle. And these are just some that I picked up at Target, but you could use anything. And I just stick one into each of these rosettes. And yeah, that was the candles. The third variation that I did was pulling the candles out, adding some pink sprinkles, and again, you guys could use any kind of sprinkles that you have. I just did a mixture of this hot pink and this kind of a light baby pink sprinkle is what I had. And then you guys, I added this homemade topper, and I actually have a short on how I made this. I used actually a cardboard base. It kind of sounds insane that these are made out of cardboard, but then I covered them with chocolate and sprinkles. But anyway, again, you can check that out on my channel. It's one of my shorts, which is just like a 60-second video, quick put together, and I did $49 for this cake. So another fun way to finish off this super simple but delicious chocolate birthday cake. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you give this a try. Give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video.